Wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk.
Good evening. It's Election Day in America. My name is Stan Solomon. The show is Talk to Solomon. My co-host, Greg W. Howard, financial expert and political commentator. Greg, how are you?
Doing well, Stan. Good to be here.
Our guest is Bishop E.W. Jackson. Bishop, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure, our honor, and we have you here because, well, you're a brave man, and we're hoping to let people know why you are being, shall we say, criticized with vigor by some. Give us some background, sir.
Well, the criticism, of course, has arisen from the fact that I have spearheaded a movement that has really seemed to have gotten some traction called Exodus Now, calling black Christians particularly, but Christians in general, out of the Democrat Party because of its godless stands and views. And we produced a video that went viral. About 1.5 million people have seen it now, and we're getting anecdotal evidence, at least, that the turnout from the black church community in this election is going to be significantly lower because while many may not vote for Romney, they're not going to vote for Obama. So needless to say, there have been a lot of people who have not liked my position.
Now, in the black community, and I'm taking a little license here, but I've been married to a black woman for 40 years, so I have a little bit of knowledge. In the black community, there is, let me just say it this way, a double standard. And that standard is, we can say this, but you can't. And we have a position, and you can agree, but you cannot disagree. And we've seen examples with people like Clarence Thomas, like Thomas Sowell, and I could go on, Mia Love in Utah, where if you are a quote-unquote conservative, pro-life, pro-God, pro-America, pro-natural marriage or biblical marriage, that you are breaking the rules because there is not a request, but a demand that you march in lockstep with the quote-unquote so-called leaders. Is that a fair statement?
It's a fair statement, and I would add this to it, that basically what they're saying is they demand that you surrender the historic and traditional values of the black community and you buy into an elitist, leftist worldview that is propagated primarily, if I may not to put too fine a point on it, by leftist white liberals, and that unless you bow to that, you are the one who is selling out the black community. And, of course, I beg to differ. I say I represent the historic and traditional, long-held values of the black community, and these other folks are the ones who have sold the black community out to those who would abort our children, destroy the black family through a whole series of government programs and redefinitions of the family and this sort of nonsense, and, of course, who don't respect at all the God of the Bible, which the black community would quickly say, has been the bridge that brought us over. So, who's selling out whom? I would say that these leftists are the ones who are selling out the black community. But, yes, that's the criticism that is leveled against us.
And I think your response was both comprehensive and eloquent. Greg?
Well, I am absolutely honored to have a chance to speak with Bishop Jackson because just a couple weeks ago on my own show I had Reverend C.L. Bryant, of course. He's famous for his Runaway Slave movie. Bishop Jackson, I would like to ask you, sir, what has been the level of your success in getting black pastors to bring this information from the pulpit into the black churches, that it's time now to turn away from this idea of blindly supporting the Democrat plantation system and turn away from that and turn their hearts back to God?
Well, Greg, we're going to do some measuring as we get past the election. We haven't been able to do that pre-election, but post-election we will. So all I can give you right now is anecdotal evidence, but to me it's very powerful. I have spoken in numerous black churches. I've talked to many black pastors. I've even had black pastors approach me and thank me and say, you know, I saw your video. Thank you so much for speaking the truth. I've had black pastors email me. Some have said, you know, you've given me courage to speak up, to realize I've got to stand up for the truth and not be worried about how my congregation is going to respond. So I can't imagine this kind of reaction 4 years ago, for example, when Barack Obama was running for president, but it's happened for the first time, but it's happening now. So I would say something is going on. I can't quite measure how broad or deep it is, but it's happening. I will add this as well. I've been visiting voting polls all day long, and my observation is, here again, my observation, knowing the black church communities fairly well, is that in largely black precincts, I have not seen people that I would expect to see at the polls, members of the black church community. I have a feeling that while they may not be voting for Mitt Romney, they are not voting for Barack Obama, and I think that will be reflected ultimately in the final numbers that we see in terms of how many black folks actually came out and voted in this election for Barack Obama.
Bishop Jackson, from whence are you? Where is your congregation? Where is your home?
I'm in Chesapeake, Virginia. That is my home. In fact, Virginia is the ancestral home of my family. My great-grandparents were slaves and then sharecroppers in Orange County, Virginia, which is about 250 miles from where we live now. But we're in Virginia, and I've been visiting polls in the second largest metropolitan statistical district in Virginia, which is the Hampton Roads area, encompassing Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and Chesapeake, and then Newport News and Hampton, and those sorts of areas. And that's the other thing. The numbers of people showing up to the polls in general is not nearly, and talking about from the black community, not nearly as large as it was in 2008. Well,
again, from your mouth to God's ear. Now, I've heard some statistics. I've done some research. I've been an activist. As I said, I'm in an integrated family. I am told, and I like your verification or thoughts, that the net worth of the black community in America has been reduced dramatically, more than 75% since Barack Obama became president. That blacks disproportionately lost their homes, that blacks disproportionately lost their jobs, that blacks disproportionately lost their opportunities to move from where they were up, and in fact, in many cases, if not the majority, found themselves being shoved down. That almost 2/3 of every black child conceived in America is aborted. Now, are these just nonsensical statements, or is there validity?
No, on the abortion issue, I think the number is anywhere from 37% to 50%, depending upon which community. I think the average is about 40. So approximately 1 out of 2 black babies is aborted rather than being allowed to be born, and that in itself is a horrific statistic. So that is absolutely true. Black poverty has clearly increased. Black unemployment is up. The unemployment rate in the black inner cities is 47% on average. We know that the food stamp distribution rate has increased. We know that welfare rolls have increased. We know that black youth employment has increased. And yes, we know that poverty has increased dramatically, and that net worth is down. I don't know whether it's down 75%, but it is down significantly. I think it's down an average of about 5% to 10% in the country. It probably is worse than that in the black community, as you know, because so much of the black community, a significant part of it, sort of lives on the economic edge and is often government dependent anyway to some degree. So look, I don't know about the specific numbers, but the spirit of what you said is clearly true. I mean, the black community has been economically very adversely affected by Barack Obama's presidency. And that's another argument that is not even really being made with sufficient commitment and determination to help people understand they are voting against their own economic interests when they vote for a president simply because he's a member of the Democrat Party or because he happens to be black.
Greg?
Well, I think he's absolutely right, and I have done a lot of writing and research on the subject. And I wanted to ask the Bishop, Bishop Jackson, can you tell me what, if anything, is there a grassroots turning against the idea of this generational dependence that has been going on for so long now, where leaders like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and others have almost inculcated into a racial meme that this idea that it's okay to just sit back and wait on the government and that you're owed something? Or is there going to be, hopefully, a change to where people will fight to get their schools back in shape and to understand that the way out of this is going to be by their own bootstraps? Now, there's a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to say that there's one fix-all to the problem because it's very complex, but is there an idea that somewhere that these folks are going to want to break their own chains and fight out of it?
Well, I believe, Greg, that everything rises and falls on leadership. And I don't mean that the black community needs a leader, but when I say leadership, I mean influencers who help reverse the horrible damage that has been done, and as you put it, inculcating and indoctrinating the black community with a victim mentality, a mentality that says, we can't, they won't let us, we need help, we're a special case, we need special treatment, because all of that is calculated to denigrate people and keep them in a kind of psychological bondage so that they vote for the right people and keep them in power. Do I see that changing? The answer is absolutely yes, because people like me, and that's not just me, but so many like me, the Alan West of the world, the Star Parkers of the world, you mentioned C.L. Bryant, and I could go on, are standing up and speaking up with courage and with eloquence and with an absolute commitment to see those chains of bondage broken. And I think that therein lies the answer, that Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton do not speak for the black community. The NAACP does not speak for the black community. There are many black influencers, leaders who are out there helping the black community to see its potential, its ability, its resources, and its capability before God to do great things and not be treated like handicapped people or like somebody's stepchildren. No offense meant to stepchildren, but you understand what I'm saying, that liberals treat the black community as if they are their adopted kids who have to be coddled and petted and taken care of by liberals, or they just won't make it.
Bishop, let me ask you this question. And it's a little, well, you can consider it. When you have black entertainers of various sort and ilk promoting the abuse of black girls, promoting the, shall we say, carnal use of black girls, promoting the addressing of black girls and black women in a certain way, how in the world can that continue and anyone expect black women to be treated with dignity and respect?
Well, look, therein lies the paradox, doesn't it? Because, of course, if a white man said something derogatory about a black woman, then all Hades would break loose, if you will, and the person would be deemed a racist and worthy of being tarred and feathered and drawn and quartered and you name it. But when some rap singer does this, when he calls black women horrible names, Jay-Z is an example of that. He has said horrible things about black women, and yet he gets to pal around with the president. I don't know whether that means the president agrees with what he says or whether he just wants the money enough that he doesn't care, but nevertheless, that seems to be the attitude, that these are entertainers. They bring a certain, if you will, charisma to the community, and we love them, and it doesn't really matter what they say. In the meantime, our kids are being inculcated with this nonsense, with this wicked, evil propaganda, and then when they start acting out with violence and with misogyny, then we wonder, well, where does that come from? And sooner or later, some feminist is up in arms because some man who has been hearing all of this mistreats some woman. And it's all coming in large measure from the popular culture that seems perfectly willing to justify this. I mean, my goodness, when the president pals around with Jay-Z, who is a rapper who I don't listen to his music, but my understanding is he uses this kind of language in talking about women, what does that tell you about the willingness to justify just anything in order to stay in power or in order to keep control of the culture?
Well, you're preaching to the choir, obviously, with Greg and I, and I don't know whether to say I'm angry. Probably I am. I'm disappointed. Yes, I am. I'm frustrated. Yes, I am. I'm mystified. Yes, I am. That people who say they care about their community would vote for and advocate for and support those who would let their children be born and then leave them there to die, that would let their children go without the knowledge of the parents to have life-threatening procedures like abortion. It's inconceivable to me that these things can be happening and that you wouldn't have an outcry that would literally wake the dead.
Well, Stan, when the Bible says when the eye is dark, the body is full of darkness, which in my view means, when people allow darkness to take over their lives, it fills every part of their lives. In other words, they not only can they not see one thing, they can't see anything. And so when people buy into this this sort of twisted ideology of liberalism, and they buy into the fear of the other, the conservatives, the Republicans, what have you. Oh, they're out to get you. They're going to put you back in slavery. They're going to take away your voting rights. They're going to end the Martin Luther King holiday. They want to lynch you. When they buy into these kinds of wicked, twisted lies, then it's easy for them to buy into other lies. And you're right. It boggles the mind that anybody would vote for a person who would say, if a baby is intended to be aborted, but somehow that child lives through that attempted abortion and is alive on a surgical table, let the child die, because that fulfills the plan and will of the mother, and that's all that matters. That's Barack Obama's position on the issue, and that's infanticide. That's not even abortion. That's infanticide. That's the killing of a born baby. And yet people will justify that. I met people at the polls today, and I confronted them. You're a Christian? Yes. You go to church? Yes. How can you support this? Oh, they just looked into me. How dare I raise these issues? I don't want to talk about that. They're blind. They can't see it. That's how they got where they are. That's why they support what they do. And so they can't see these issues. But here again, it's up to leadership to just absolutely confront people with love and with respect, but nevertheless with firmness and with courage, and say, this is wrong, it's wrong. And even if people don't agree with me when I say it, when they hear me say it, I believe that the seed that is planted will bear some fruit, and eventually they'll wake up and say, I argued with him, but he was right.
Greg?
Well, I think he's absolutely right that, this type of generational, it's almost brainwashing in a way, and it's not just in the black community. You see a good deal of it. You got to remember that I am of Hispanic descent, and you see a lot of this same idea, though it's a different type. It goes into many different communities to try and divide us, and I think that's what is at the root of all this, is to keep us all divided. What is being done, though, to try and get people to understand that they're going to have to be the ones that are going to be in charge of their own destiny? That is I think that is where my deepest concern is, that this idea that this is never going to happen. I grew up during the Martin Luther King era, and I always treasured the words of, "Judge me by the content of my character, not by the color of my skin." That's what my father taught me to do to the people around me, to judge me by my associations, and let me make my own way. Don't give me anything. What is it? What do you think it's really going to take? You know, assuming we wipe Obama off the stage and we're able to do that, what do you think it's really going to take, Bishop Jackson, to try and turn that around? Is it going to have to be done in the schools? Is it going to be done in the churches? How is it going to be done?
I think it's going to take all of the above, Greg. I think we're going to have school choice so that parents can make decisions about the education of their children. I think churches are going to have to take responsibility. I'm teaching a series in my church right now entitled The Called Community, and basically what I'm saying is every church ought to teach destiny, just what you said, teach people that their destiny is in their hands, that God has a plan for them. It's up to them to walk it out. I'd say teach destiny, build unity, bless people, and then the last thing I say is save the nation, that the church has got to take responsibility for the fate of the nation and not just say, oh, well, that's not our job. That's the job of politicians. No, it's the job of every single citizen, particularly those who believe that this nation is providential. And here again, it's going to take all of that. It's going to take leaders of every kind and background taking a stand and not being concerned about whether people are offended initially, but really just speaking the truth, because we say these things out of love and caring for people, not out of what liberals, of course, try to paint us as haters and bigots and this and that. We say the things that we say, and we take the stand we take because we know this is what empowers the individual to fulfill their God-given potential. And by the way, we didn't get here in a day, so we're not going to have this over in a day. It's going to take us probably a generation to turn this thing around, but I think we can make progress day by day if we'll stay at it.
Bishop, we're just about out of time. Tell folks how they can contact you, see your work, visit your website, see your video, and so on.
Yes, sir. They can get in touch with me at standamerica.us, just like it sounds, standamerica.us. That's our website. They can Google my name, Bishop E.W. Jackson, and our website will come up, our YouTube channel will come up, and a whole lot of other interesting things will come up, including some of the things that my detractors have to say, but they don't have to read that stuff.
You know what? I hope they do, because after hearing you, when they read that, they're going to understand the, well, I have some words, but I can't use them, but they're going to understand the meanness, I can say that word, of those who say, I mean, I was actually in Washington, D.C. when Clarence Thomas was walking down the street, and a member of the United States Congress, a black member of the Congress, got up, went to the sidewalk and said, you are nothing but an N to a Supreme Court justice, and felt good about himself after he said it.
Well, you know, these people are really deluded. They're full of wickedness, and you got to pray for them, frankly, and not buy into the venom that they spew. You know, it's kind of like Jesus said on the cross, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do.
Well, I didn't say it quite as eloquently or quite as compassionately, I can tell you that for sure. Bishop Jackson, God bless you. Thank you for your great work, and, you know, God be with you.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
All right, folks, we'll be back shortly. Greg and I are going to talk politics, and then at the top of the hour, we'll have our friend Alan Keyes. Stay tuned. Do you have a cell phone? I do. In fact, everyone I know does. There's only one problem with cell phones. They're too damn high. You remember that guy. With me is Ted Williams, one of America's experts on cell phones, and a guy who's been responsible, along with his company, for hundreds of thousands of people saving money on cell phones. Ted, thank you for joining us. Talk to us.
Well, I tell you, Stan, right now, every dollar a person can save is a dollar earned. I'm telling you, in this economy, the price of gas and the unsure situation with employment, our business is tailor-made, and our cell phone packages are tailor-made to help everyone out.
All right, let's state a few facts. Unlimited service isn't unlimited service anymore, right or wrong?
It's right for a lot of the big carriers that you're familiar with, but our company has got truly unlimited talk, text, and web. We don't slow speeds down. We don't charge you after 1 or 2 gigabytes. It's truly unlimited, running on a nationwide network with roaming options if people want it.
And to get unlimited service, which many people use today in their business, you're going to spend $120, $130, $140. How do you compare?
We've got plans that start at $20 with rollover minutes, and our truly unlimited talk, text, and web plan is $59 a month. Again, no limits on the data. And the exciting thing is you can earn, as a customer, you can earn free service by simply referring a few customers to us. That earns you free service potentially for the rest of your life.
Now, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Without paying money, without being in the business, simply if your customer, at whatever the customer costs are, and I assume there are no deposits or that type of thing, that if you refer a few friends and they get service, you can earn free service for yourself?
Absolutely. It's, as you said, no contract, no deposit, no credit check, and we have many payment options. They can be auto-billed, auto-debited, phone in and make your payment over the phone, or, you know, a lot of options on how to pay the bill. But truly unlimited talk, text, and web available to you for $59 a month, and if you refer a few friends, totally free.
Now, 2 other questions. You said roaming is an option. How much does it cost?
If you have unlimited nationwide roaming, it would be an additional $20 if you
So
if
you're,
you need
you're
it.
still
But-
only $79.
Correct. But you may not need it because we are on the nationwide network.
Okay. And the second thing is, do you only have dial-up phones that you have to carry in a suitcase, or do you actually have the latest and greatest Droid phones?
We have Android phones are the hottest selling items right now on our site, but we also cater to those people that all they have a need for is a simple flip phone. So you can go from, you know, from the top of the line phone to a free phone.
And are you competitive on those prices?
Absolutely. The phones, most people don't realize this, but the phone prices you hear on television are tied into contracts. We don't have a contract. So our phone, you buy it, you own it, and you pay the real price. The way you can find out how competitive it is simply ask any of those big 3 or 4 companies, what is the price of the phone if I don't have to sign a contract? And they'll tell you many of those Android phones are $400.
There you go. All right, folks, you can get more information by dialing 1-800-299-8362, or just go to cpnlive.com and click on the icon that says Get Free Phone Service. Free. Free. I can afford free. Can you?
Free is good.
Thanks.